What's going on? My name is Dantrell, and this is We Just Talking. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, again, this is We Just Talking. I want to thank you guys for coming out for another episode. We have a very fun topic today. Today we're going to be talking about relationships and dating. As you know, it's the month of February. We just celebrated Valentine's Day not too long ago. You know, this time of year, we know love is definitely in the air. So we thought this would be a good time to have this conversation. Though it may not seem as important as some of the previous topics we may have discussed, relationships have a very strong effect on us and our lives, and it leaves deeper impact than we may sometimes realize. And so, to open up, I asked everybody to write something down on the papers that you see before us, and I'm opening the floor to anybody who wants to share. Not everybody has to, but if you feel comfortable doing so, you may do so. But we're going to open up with this question here. What are the three most important things that you look for in a mate?
Three things I look for when I'm talking to somebody or in a relationship is, first, when I approach you, I gotta like how you look. So your looks, your personality, and I ask a lot of questions. So like their background.
Communication and trust. Trust the person you with.
Yeah, I put something similar. Communication, how they treat other people, and just a sense of direction and a relationship with God and stuff.
And I put having God, communication, understanding.
I put communication. I put respect, love, and trust.
Submissiveness, caring, and communicating.
I put confidence, trust, and belief in God.
On my sheet, I put first relationship with God. Second, I put kind, and the third one I put not loud.
It takes you to put that. I put man of God, loving and respectful.
So y'all got some good stuff on y'all paper, man. I like to hear that. So the question we can really get the conversation moving with is how is your past relationships changed what you're looking for going forward? Because I'm pretty sure, you know, when we first started dating, or we had an idea of what we wanted in a person, or maybe not, you just went into it blindly, but I'm pretty sure if you've been in a prior relationship before, you had some experience that changed your outlook on what you want going forward. So, is there anybody here that wants to answer that part?
I think I'm going to take it to a different step because not really everyone has that experience necessarily. I think this relationship that I'm currently in is really like my first like true real relationship. Everything else was like, oh, we'll go on dates and stuff like that and hang out kind of deal, but this is like a person that I'm really truly invested in, and I, you know, want to see what future looks like kind of deal. Not my other relationships, if so to speak. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel future forward thinking type of feelings, you know, going through life with a person kind of thing. Before it was really just really surface level.
I guess I ain't really been in a true relationship until obviously this relationship I'm in now. I guess if anything with prior situationships, for sure I guess being communicative, communication, even though it's cliche, it's like super key, I think, in relationships. So if both people ain't on the same page, or if somebody not liking something that the other person do and you just letting it slide going on for months, and you know, later on, now it's a problem down the line. Like, that's something you should let the person know through the front door. So communication for sure.
For me, when my first relationship, I was one of the ones that just went in blind. You know, I was just, all right, somebody like me, cool. All right. And I learned a lot I've been in a few relationships, and I learned a lot from many of them. I think some of the biggest things that I learned was I found myself a lot of times just letting a lot of things slide that I probably shouldn't have let slide, because I had this idea of, you know, when you really want to make something work with somebody, you know, you do what you got to do to make it work. And to me, that was also some acceptance that went along with that. But it came to a point where I realized, like, I was accepting a lot of stuff that I knew I probably wouldn't have tolerated if it was somebody else. And don't get me wrong, it's some things that you go deal with in some relationships where you don't mind doing it for that person, but when you feel like you start giving up yourself, like the person that you are, and it's not making you a better person, that's when you gotta draw the line. And it took me to get to a point where I had to draw that line. And so I told myself, like, going forward, I want to be with somebody that can let me be me without me feeling bad about it. Somebody that I feel like is gonna give me the same energy that I'm giving them. Not necessarily doing for me what I do for you, but just overall energy. You know, if when I'm giving to you in some shape or form, I need to make sure I'm getting that same thing back. And so that was something that I told myself moving forward that I wouldn't settle for. Is there anything on you guys' list that you feel like you would make an exception for? Why is those things important?
An exception for personality, just because knowing me, the king I am, the king I am. Let's just say, okay, my girlfriend, right? Let's just say that she is a more quiet person and she doesn't like to express herself like that. I'm not going to make her express herself, but I'm going to make sure I'm there so that eventually she can have that trait to express herself.
I would say on mine, like, just a little bit, maybe like the sense of direction piece, just because like we're all in our 20s, 30s. We don't have it all figured out. At least I don't. So, I mean, I think it's good to just kind of like have a plan for yourself or just think about those things. But at the same time, like, I don't even have it figured out, like, you know, where do I want to be in 3 years, you know, with my career and stuff like that. So I feel like that's one where it's like, you know, this is life. It's a journey. We're all figuring it out. I'm not looking for somebody that just has all of these boxes just checked, you know. So so that's kind of one I would probably, you know, give and take a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, I won't give and take on nothing. On my list, I feel like when I did date, it was like going in, okay, I'm dating or whatever, or just having a relationship, okay? So when I began to just like cut things off and just be myself, be to myself, get to know me, and then, you know, God sent whoever he, you know, the person that he wanted for me. So on my list, having God, I do want a man of God. You know, I want somebody who believes in him and trusts in the same word and the guidelines that I have. That communication, you gonna talk. We gonna have to say some things, you know, and be on the same accord with one another. And if we're not, we're gonna agree to disagree and leave it alone and just have an understanding of each other. You have to have that. So I won't back down from nothing on my list.
Right, and I agree with my wife on this situation, because most of the things that we wrote on this list are things that are very strong to us, like our morals. So some things you just can't make an exception for. Now, the thing that I would figure that you'll make an exception for is things like if maybe the lady, maybe she can't cook or something like that. Okay, she can learn how to cook, you know, so you can make an exception for stuff, you know, things like that, like if you love to eat. So, yeah.
As far as my three, yeah, I wouldn't make an exception for either communication, respect, love, and trust. I think those are probably one of the main things that relationships, or when you're dating, or if you're in a relationship, these are the most three important things that you should have in a relationship is communication, love, trust, and respect.
I wouldn't budge on anything on mine either. Obviously, I want a person to care about me. Communication, like everybody said, is key, but submissiveness for me is like one of the most important things, because underneath that, I mean, that automatically come with trust for me. Like, obviously, if you're allowing me to be the leader, the alpha male of the household, you trusted me to protect you, guide the family, so it's like the number one thing.
All right, I hear communication coming up a lot, and of course, that's one of the most vital pieces of any relationship. It's very, very vital. But okay, so what is communication for you guys personally? Because I know communication is, to me, it's more than just talking. it's understanding each other's language. So you could tell me one thing, but your body language could tell me something totally different. Or just their actions. That's another form. To me, that's another form of communication as well. As far as like things that you do for somebody, like if I know you like this, I know you love this. If I do like this and do that, that's like me telling you, hey, I'll notice you. I'll pay attention to you. So what is communication for you guys specifically?
It's like, don't talk at me, just talk to me. That's communication.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I think communication too is understanding how your partner listens, I guess. In a sense, it's like understanding, okay, maybe it might not be like the first time or the second time that, something might be said, for instance, It might take somebody longer to understand what it is that you're trying to actually communicate. Yeah, I think that's important too, is just understanding how your person receives things. And I think that's very key when it's time to actually talk about those difficult things.
I think communication is also in the things that we don't say and the things that we don't do. You can learn a lot from that alone.
That's a good point as well.
I agree with that, but to me, communication at the end of the day is like being able to talk. Cause like, like you feel me? Like in a relationship,
Be quiet.
like with my girl, like even if you feeling bad, I see you feeling bad, or like you got an attitude about something. Just know when I ask you about it, don't just say, "Oh, I'm okay." Cause if you say, "Oh, I'm okay," well, I'm gonna just act like it's okay, and then I come back to okay. 2 days later, now you want to talk, and this is what the problem was. Well, why you didn't tell me that 2 days ago?
Because they ain't feel like telling you.
I mean, but you could have said that, though. They could have just said, like, hey, I got a problem. I don't want to talk about it.
You have to be
and I'm
ready
cool with
to
that.
communicate with people, too. And sometimes, I know for me, sometimes I'm not ready to communicate. Or I might say, it's okay, I'm good. But then I come back and be like, wait a minute. But I ain't good. Like, I'm ready to communicate. I'm ready to tell you right now.
But you could, I feel like you could say at the same time, you could say, I'm okay. Honestly, I don't feel like talking about it right now. I'm frustrated right now, and I know my response might not be good right now. Can we talk about this later? I'll accept that because I understand that because I feel that myself sometimes.
Sometimes it's as simple as just saying like, "Oh, I just need to collect my thoughts right now." Even with my friends, I'll be like, "Hey, I haven't heard from you. Like, okay, I'll reach out to you. Like, I'm just going through something right now." So.
The most important thing about communication, like you say, is not just simply talking. It's your body language. It's the way you respond. Some people don't even know how to respond to what's being said. Like she said, sometimes she might just say okay, I'm okay at the moment, but her response from him might be more like, okay, are you sure? Are you this? Or that? Not just to take that okay and sit down with it. You know your person. They're not okay. Their moods and you know how they are. So, but then again, it's how you respond to that. You gotta open up. The other person have to open up more in the way that you communicate. So it's not just about talking. It's about understanding your body language, the way you respond, and the way you take it into the response.
Right now, for those that are dating, those in relationships, are you guys dating with the intentions of marriage? Because surprisingly, I know a lot of people, they say, right now I'm just looking I just want to look for somebody I can have fun with for the time being, it's some people that don't even want to be married these days. I've come across many people whose marriage is like, we doing good. We've been together all these years. We ain't had no problems. I feel like as soon as you get married, that's when all the stuff happens. Like, does anybody here have that mindset?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
I live a single life, but yeah, they be only when someone's let's get married. Let's get married. No,
nah.
Maybe when I get 40.
Before you get 40.
I just got a time limit.
I would say yes. For me, the answer is yes. Like, I'm dating with the intention of marriage, but I do think some people may disagree with me, but I think like as Christians, sometimes we just put like a little too much emphasis on it, and like I listened to like the Godly Dating podcast and all this stuff, and it was like, even when I was single, just like, this is what you should do, you know, blah 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 blah, have this conversation. And it's like the rules just kind of write themselves like when you're in a relationship. And I think like sometimes as Christians we lose that sense of discernment by like just kind of jumping in like, okay, I want to get married. And it's like, no, it's like, that's okay if that's the intention and that's my intention, but I don't want to lose sight of like the foundation, because you miss things and then you just get caught up in like that end goal that it's like, you know, it just, I don't know. I think just thinking about like pages I follow on Instagram, podcasts and stuff, I think it's just a little too overemphasized from a Christian perspective, but I still get, you know, why it's important to like have that good intent in a relationship as well.
Yeah, I think when you're dating though, I think both parties have to be honest with each other. You know, like if you just looking to have fun, let the person know. I mean, if you're looking for a serious relationship, let them know. Because how many times have you seen people in a relationship, one of them is looking to settle down, to get married, and the other one still want to pay the field. So I think you just have to communication. You have to be upfront and honest with each other when you're dating.
I mean, then when you're dating, you're basically just looking for things that you don't want in a relationship and things that you do want as you date. And like you say, you can communicate. So it could be one party who say, hey, I'm looking to settle down, I'm looking to get married, and the other party like, well, I'm just here, you know, to have fun.
I think it could be very harmful if you go into every relationship thinking that like, oh, this is the person that I'm going to marry. That's very harmful.
No,
actually, I think you know, God could have sent that person for you to learn something, you know, type of thing. It's not necessarily always, oh yeah, he was the one or she was the one. Yeah.
So I agree with you, but that's not really what I meant when I asked the question. What I'm saying is, I know for a fact every person that you don't be thinking just every person go be the one. I mean, so as every relationship, me personally, every relationship I go into, I'm looking for the one.
Yes.
Not saying that you are going to be the one. I'm looking for the one. Exactly. And honestly, I wouldn't even start a relationship with you if I didn't feel like you were the one. In other words, I'm going to feel you out as much as I can before I make anything official with you. You know, and don't get me wrong, you can make it official with somebody, and then you start seeing stuff later then too. Yeah. You never know. It's all, like you said, it's all about communication. It's all about trust. You know, figuring out the person that you're with. But at the same time, though, I'm going in with that intention. So if I don't see that, don't think we're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend right away either. You know, I'm looking for somebody I can spend the rest of my life with. So I need to make sure that you hold some of the characteristics of a person I would like to spend the rest of my life with.
I don't like people comparing your boyfriend like your mate to your past relationship. That's bogus. That's it.
That's an interesting topic too, though. So I got something here. It says, have you ever experienced an unhealthy relationship?
When I was younger, I think about this was young, like 21-ish type of thing. I was in a bad relationship, really bad relationship. It was nice, but it wasn't nice. Like, it was always, I'm thinking I'm happy and yeah, we having a good time and this is gonna be that person for me. I had a little promise ring, you know that promise ring. I'm walking around with my promise ring, but I wasn't the only person. Like, he was having fun and I did not know it. So, yeah, and then it was like one day I had to weigh my option. I was literally doing like this to myself, talking to God, like, Lord, what is going on? I don't want to deal with this. And I let it go. So it was a bad relationship. It was always cheating. It was always somebody else. But he would tell me, oh, no, it's nothing. And then I'll go back into it. But it was. So I just got tired of knowing that I wasn't number one. And my example was my mom and dad. They was married for 43 years. And it was like, this ain't what I think it is. So I had to let it go.
Mine took me to anger management. And I knew in therapy that I had to take to anger management because I get angry when you step on people's toes. And I learned from anger management that you gotta go in there with communication.
Yeah.
And trust. You gotta trust that mate or trust that person.
I kind of touched on it a little bit with one of the first relationships I was in, but I had an experience with an unhealthy relationship, and I want to make this clear too. When I talk about this unhealthy relationship, it doesn't mean that I was dealing with a bad person, but you want to make sure that you're with somebody that's helping you grow.
Right.
Like you're supposed to be growing, and and this should be doing the same thing. So when I say it was unhealthy, it was more so we weren't growing.
Right.
And I always say this. This is like a little phrase that I came up with myself. I use it for when I talk about this. You can't force a puzzle piece where it wasn't made to fit, because all you're doing is tearing up that piece and ruining that puzzle. So that steady trying to force something that's not going to work, you're only hurting yourself. And I found myself hurting myself a lot trying to force something because I was just so sure that I wanted this so bad. It got to a point where I started feeling a certain type of way about this person. And then I never want to end on bad terms with somebody where we can't even be friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Especially when ain't nothing bad that happened between us. It's just not working. And when it gets to the point where we just bumping heads all the time over everything, I was like, no, I can't. I'm not finna keep doing this to myself. As much love as I have for this person, as much as I wanted to be with this person, I knew that it wasn't good for me. And at the end of the day, I had to take care of myself in that way, and I had to step away from that.
What you said about your previous relationship, I think that was good. Just note that sometimes people can be good people, but just not good for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
That's a great point. I don't have any experience with unhealthy relationships. This is my first serious relationship. I had a boyfriend in college, but I don't even count that. I just went to the dining hall together. And great person, nothing bad happened, but
You don't see that.
But I think your point is extremely valid. I think just even I'll just be honest with you all. Even in church, growing up as a teen, as a young adult, there were a lot of great men, but it's we just had nothing in common, and they just took it too personally. Oh, I don't like Migos, or I don't like Jay-Z. And I'm just what? I don't play when I go to the gym for just no compatibility, I'm super a thinker. I like to be challenged. I don't like people to just agree with me all the time. I like to, okay, let's have a healthy debate about this. Those are I don't know, I just kind of like those kind of traits. And it's okay, you're a nice person, but there's just nothing we have in common. So why is that such a bad thing? So that's just kind of my take.
Okay, so we've really been talking about what we've been looking for in mates and stuff like that, and our experiences and stuff. Just you personally, what do you work on yourselves when it comes to dating? Because a lot of times we always talk about what we're looking for, but I don't want to say what you bring to the table, because I feel like that. I don't really like that proposition. I don't like that proposition to people. What do you bring to the table? But what are you doing yourself to make yourself a good mate for somebody?
I'm personally working on speaking up more. I feel like God is really helping me with that, and also being a better friend. Because I feel like if a person is not a good friend, 9 times out of 10 they ain't gonna be a good partner. So I want to be a better friend.
You start off with friends, though. You get to know the person and know the family and all that stuff. You kicking it, whatever. Then you go up to the relationship and all that. That's what it started back in the day.
I think that's important too, because a lot of people jump into relationships as soon as they think they vibing with somebody before they actually get to know them. That's a good point, JoJo. So with me personally, as you guys know, I'm getting married this year, and of course there's some things I worked on myself prior to, but right before I proposed, some months ahead, I was telling God, I know this is the person I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with, but I kept asking him, help me to become the man, help me to become the husband that I need to be for my mate. Because me and my fiance, we don't get me wrong, we didn't always have just a peachy relationship either. You know, we bumped heads a lot of things too. But thank God we both leaned on him together for guidance, and we fixed a lot of things that we were having issues with. But really, when it comes to me personally, I was asking, I know when it comes to being a husband, there's some responsibilities that come with that. There's some things that I'm going to have to sacrifice that comes with that. I joke with my friend David all the time about like, bro, when I get married, ain't gonna be no more we hanging out all night type stuff. I got responsibility to be home at a certain time to protect my wife, protect my family, stuff like that. And just a lot of I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I could be pretty selfish sometimes. Like, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, how when I feel like doing it. I like that I don't have to go to nobody, get no response, let you know what I'm doing, where I'm at 24/7.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but I had to ask God to work on that in me, because so some people, they feel like when they have to
Control.
they feel like it's a control thing, but it's not always that.
I think the question was what we bring to the table, right? Because y'all said y'all don't like the table
Not the
term.
table. No, I mean, because that
It was like, what do you need to
that's
work
kinda-
on? What did you work on?
for yourself.
Right.
The
Yeah.
reason I said I don't like that, what you bring to the table question, because people like to use it to deflect.
Yeah.
People, when I hear that term a lot, people use that to deflect. When somebody's telling you when you're not on the right page like you should be, here you go. Okay, but what you do? Like, I don't like that response.
When you ask someone that question, what do you bring to the table? Honestly, you're gonna get the same response, right?
Yeah.
So when I hear that question a lot, it's mostly men, asking women, what do they bring to the table? And for me, it's not about, what she brings to the table. It's what are you offering? What are you? I don't know how to really explain it, but I guess because it's like with relationships and marriage, it's always reflected on as if women win in relationships and marriages. Like men more like suffer. So they was kind of like asking like, what can you bring to the table where I feel like I'm in this marriage with you as well. So that's why you said like financially, what do you bring to the table? Are you a man of God, a woman of God?
Right? Do you cook? Do you
clean?
clean?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You want to get that same
Right.
answer. I cook, I clean, I could do this, I could do that.
Resume. Gotta have a resume when you dating. That's how I put it to the table.
I wanted to say when I was getting myself ready for me, I worked on Chantrell, right? So I think like before my father passed, when he was sick and stuff, I wanted that. I started working on that relationship with God, my relationship with Him. Not I go to church every Sunday, I do this, I do that. No, I'm talking about sitting at home, reading that Bible, waking up, talking to Him. Like, I worked on that. And that's something that I worked on before I started dealing with, worked on before getting with my husband. I was still doing that and having that relationship with him. So I think that's something that I knew that that's something I needed to work on. I needed to do that for me and my husband.
We kind of talked about it a lot, but just so we get more specific on this topic in particular, how much does your spiritual journey play in your dating life? Because me personally, I've dated without considering religion when I was younger, because I always felt like, people come to God on their own time, which is true. Don't get me wrong, it is true. But at the same time, I'm very focused on my spiritual growth. That's just period. Whether I'm with somebody, whether I'm not with somebody,
Right.
That is my priority in my life right now. So I made sure that I told, before I met my fiance, I had a good conversation with God. Like, I told him, look, Lord, this is what I want. I'm gonna just leave it like this. I want somebody that loves you like I love you. I want somebody that loves God like I love God. I want somebody that's patient, that's kind, that carries those traits, And I'm not gonna settle for nothing less than that. And God, I'll wait as long as you want me to wait, Father, God, until I come across that, you know. And I thank God, because that's exactly what He delivered to me when He did. But how important is that to you guys? Somebody that's spiritually involved.
I think it's super vital because if you're not guided in that spiritual sense, in your journey, if your person is not there along with you for your ride in whatever your spiritual journey is, then it's almost as if like they're really not even there for you as a person. Like we do Bible studies. You know, that was something like we didn't start off our relationship doing that. We decided as both like, you know, spiritual people, like this would be good for us. It's like having those kind of conversations as well, like incorporating that into your relationship. And if that's not working, then I can confidently say actually that's not the person that you should be with.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, just to quickly echo off that, like, I don't know, I've never mentioned this, but I think, like, if I were ever at the point where I'm engaged or getting married, like, I know a lot of churches offer, like, premarital counseling or therapy, like, that's like a must for me. Like, I've never said it, I've never mentioned it, you know, in, you know, whatever, but that's just like a must for me. Like, personally, I go to therapy just for myself, and like, I think just having like, you know, your pastor just rooted in that, or, you know, even taking a step outside of the church, like a advisor of some sort, like, I need that. Just, you know, I feel like spirituality, you know, Christianity, like, that's just the glue to, you know, our relationship. So I definitely need that.
Why do you think a lot of us as Christians struggle with celibacy?
You're tired of loneliness.
You say what?
You get tired of loneliness.
That's a serious thing though. Yeah.
You get tired of being lonely and being people talking about you and stuff like that. You're like, you still single? Like, okay, I'm still single. But you're young though, and you get that like it's good to be by yourself though. It's good to have your single life. You find so much of what you got God and Jesus and stuff like that, and when you're going through stuff and everything else, it's good to have a single life. Mm-hmm. But if the girl gonna come, she gonna come. Sometimes when you get older, you see stuff bigger now. You ain't like you 21 years old no more. You ain't gotta do all that no more. You go by yourself. You wanna go to the show, go by yourself. Mm-hmm. Take a friend or something. Mm-hmm.
Get your man right, by the way.
I just want to say, like, and I forgot my thought. That's with y'all. How did I forget my thought? Thanks, JoJo. I think the world, our surrounding, too. Mm-hmm. I wish I could go back and not. I wish I could. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. So I think it was the surrounding of what my friends and what people was doing. So I'm going to do it, you know, thinking, but I wish I never did it. You know what I'm saying? I think it was my surrounding. It could be your surrounding. Mm-hmm. And I ain't talking about, it could be family, it could be friends, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think your surrounding, your people, who you be around, that plays a major part in celibacy. Mm-hmm. But I wish, when I think about my babies or whatever, I pray that I can talk to Dory and pray that I can talk to D2 and tell them how precious it is to wait for that person.
I think it's how it gets talked about too. It's kind of like,
yes,
it almost gets talked about celibacy in a negative,
yes, and it's
way.
Not at all.
It's not necessarily negative. It's more so of a positive, conversation, a positive aspect. Yes. But instead, it's focused on, oh, you did that. That's, so wrong, so bad. Like, people focus on that, that part of it, and then so it's like, well, I see everybody else. So, what's the point? Kind of how the thought process is, at least.
For me, it goes back to the last question that I asked. This is me personally, though. We talk about finding somebody that has a relationship with God, like you have a relationship with God. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people who was out there doing stuff they probably shouldn't have been doing. I'll be honest about that. But I thank God that, like I said, when I asked him, I told him what I wanted. He gave me that. It just so happened that, of course, that's one of the things that the Bible speaks on. That's like I said, if I want to make sure that I'm living a life that God is pleased with, I'm gonna try to follow the rules as best as I can. But I was lucky to find somebody who was on the same page. Like that's literally, I promise y'all, that's literally one of the first things she told me. When I first met her, because I met her at her college, and of course y'all know how I go at college. She say, so many people that came down here, and these guys that be coming down here, they all be looking for, just trying to find somebody they could hook up with and stuff like that. She let me know that's not me. I'm not that type of person, and so that worked for me. I wasn't down there for that anyway, but it was good. I was good that I found somebody who I could. That's why it's so important. The Bible talks about being equally yoked with somebody. That's very important. So, but I think it would help a lot if we, like Brandon said, we have the narrative or the conversations about it would be different. Especially even in school, like when I was a kid, even as a kid, I heard people talking about that stuff. Like, they got kids walking around feeling like, oh, now I got to do it. They go right, like, and it shouldn't be like that at all.
Yeah,
right.
It shouldn't be like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's and like you said, it's a lot of peer pressure. That's why a lot of people struggle with celibacy. It's a lot of peer pressure.
Yes.
You see it all over social media.
TV.
Your favorite rappers, you know what I'm saying? You hear it all the time in the music. They rap about, what is it, money, sex, clothes, or whatever.
Yeah.
They rap about, so I think that, and I say this all the time to people, like rappers, like artists, professional artists, they have a lot of power. They have the ability to change the world. If they change their rap lyrics or whatever, they can influence a lot of people. A lot of people.
I agree with what everybody else said. Peer pressure, the music. Even like you said, when you're in school, people talking about you. It's all on the internet. It's everywhere. I mean, so you can't escape. But you got to be strong will, and like you said, that's something you asked God for, and He gave it to you.
All right.
Yeah, I think
not everybody does have that strong will to withhold.
I think the church has a pretty big responsibility in a lot of this too. In the way, again, just the way that it's talked about, because again, we take it from the perspective of, all right, these are all the negative things that happen if you do this, as opposed to, not saying that because we have grace that we shouldn't do it, but it's not like I don't know, I can't really say that. Like, it's not like the end of the world. Like, if it did happen, like, people feel like you're so spiritual, so holy. Like, how did you let this happen? Or how did you have this, happen to you? It's just...
We ain't perfect.
You're not perfect, yeah. And you shouldn't be looked at differently if you have, right? Like,
Right.
I just wanted to put that. Not saying that...
Yeah, that was
No,
right,
I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you did, because it goes into my next question. Did you feel comfortable discussing those curiosities with your parents or adults around you? Do you feel like the people, the adults around you, your parents or whoever it was, created a space for you to have those conversations?
No.
And I'm pretty sure we all agree that would have helped, right?
That would have helped tremendously.
Start up a whole lot of stuff.
I believe that would have helped tremendously with me growing up. And I think it's the different generations too. Like, I think generations now, they talk to their kids more. But back then, no, it was like, no. It's emotional. It's something, it's emotional. That's a lot of emotions into that. That's all I heard. And I'm like, okay. What's that emotion? And then another thing is, too, with people, right? We got to really consider people upbringing. We don't know if people was molested. That messed up their celibacy. I don't want to say messed it up, but yeah.
Me personally, I wouldn't count that as. I wouldn't even count that as that. But you know,
That can start, yeah,
but yeah,
make them start going whatever way they go.
I understand.
You know?
Yeah, I understand. I heard you saying that you kind of disagree.
No, I feel like my mom, my family, they were pretty open about just talking about sex in front of you, but I wasn't comfortable talking to them about it. So even if I was comfortable talking, I don't feel like it would have changed like who I am or the decisions I've made or anything like that. I don't feel like it would have like did anything because they were actually there. If I was to come talk to them about it, they would have sat down, had a whole conversation,
As they should.
went off the wall with it, but
But I guess what I'm more so asking is,
scared.
maybe of course you're gonna do what you want to do at the end of the day.
Right.
Do you feel like it's beneficial that you were able to if you wanted to?
I suppose.
I would say my parents were pretty open about like talking about sex and just, you know, even in high school, I just remember them saying to me like, if you ever just get an urge or you feel like you need like some protection, just let us know or tell us. Or they were just really, really open about it. And like, I don't know, to be honest, I think there was just kind of like, I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was just a pattern like in my family of, you know, things going on. So they were just more like open about it. And even like in college, like, you know, I kind of like fell into a state of depression just over the pressure of being in college. And like my mom was really trying to get to the root of it. She's like, did something happen? Like, you know, have you been sexually active? Like, did something happen at a party? Tell me what happened. And like, my parents were just super open about it. And even when I first like started dating this guy in college, like first thing my dad called me like on campus, like, you know, congrats on your boyfriend, but he was like, but like just remember, like, you know, if you all do those things and be safe. And I was like, okay, Dad. Like I don't know. My mom calls me a late bloomer, but you know, just in terms of dating and everything. But I mean, they were just super open about it, and it just wasn't something on my mind. But looking back, I'm like really glad that they just allowed that openness.
I suppose when I think about it, it's the same. My mom was like that too. And I was more so like, oh, I want to talk about that. Like,
Right.
but I guess being there to talk about it, I guess it made it better because I would like subconsciously listen, I suppose.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't want to hear it from her specifically.
Yeah. It was just a very like judgment-free zone in my family. Like my parents were always like, if you're ever in a situation where you feel like you need protection, if you're ever out drunk or something, pick up the phone and just call us. We're not gonna ask any questions, and we're gonna just come get you. Like, so I mean, looking back, it's just great. But back then, I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's good because most people don't talk to their parents about those things because of the backlash or what they think they're going to say or get judged. You know, people need those parents like that, you know, like if you're outside drunk, if you got those urges or, you know, here goes some protection. Yeah, you need those.
The reason I had this question is because I seen something on Facebook. There's this Christian woman who was trying to hold a seminar talking about sex and urges and stuff with Christians in the church. And the church turned her down from letting her do this seminar. And she was upset because she felt like she had something that could help a lot of people. And I know that's something that, at least in my experience with the church, I rarely hear that conversation come up, if I ever. Do you feel like it's something that the church could do? Or even like the members of the church, the older members, as far as the youth or those coming up, do you feel like anything that do you feel like the church should play a role in that when it comes to I guess the people in our age group or the ones younger than us? Do you feel like we should have some responsibilities when it comes to
It's like the talking.
Yeah.
It's like in the business. I'm sorry, you can talk about you can go one-on-one person. You got
but it's kind of like what you said earlier. Remember you said
one-on-one.
talk to you and not at you though.
Right.
It's a difference.
It's different. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because That's what I'm saying too.
I feel like that'd be
I'm
good. And then to your part, I think
one on one. It got to be one on one. You can't be with everybody else around and stuff because you don't know. You know what I'm saying? One on one.
Sometimes a group discussion makes people more comfortable than one on one. Just to know that everybody else is having the same issue as me, so maybe it's good to talk about it. But yeah, I do agree the church should have some. Like the seminar thing, that probably was a great, excellent idea for the church to do, just for people to understand, the peer pressures and the urges and the why we should abstain from sex until marriage. I don't think a lot of people really know why the church just tell you don't have sex before marriage, and never explain why should not do it, why, and then you look at around, well, this person has sex before their marriage, this person got a child, they ain't married, this person, so you need to know all the aspects of that. In the church, it's some church responsibility to do that, and your parents should do it as well.
If you don't want to partake in that, like seminar, I feel like you can just choose, not to go to that specific day, or just don't go to that seminar that day. But I think it'll be valuable for the simple fact, they always talking about, celibacy, and like you said, they never tell you like why to be like that. So to like break it down, bring it to church, since that seems to be like such an important thing to actually bring a conversation about.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I don't think it should be like the old generation. They did their part. It's up to us now to do it and talk to the young people in the church about it.
Yeah, because you bring some old people.
Yeah, they do.
They be like,
like they don't make them like they make them down there.
I mean, there's a book. I don't know if y'all read it. Pastor Mike Todd, Relationship Goals. Me and my wife, we read that book, and it really helped us out a lot. Really a lot. That's a great book to read.
Yeah, I got it at home.
What's the name of the book again?
Relationship Goals.
Michael Todd,
Relationship Goals. Yeah, it's a very, very good book. It talks about all that, sex before marriage, importance of it.
Also, me and my fiance got this book too. It's called 101 Questions to Ask Before Getting Engaged or Being Engaged, something like that. And I highly recommend that. It was a lot of stuff in there that we did talk about, a lot of stuff that we didn't talk about, probably wouldn't even thought to talk about. We got it, but we were able to discuss a lot of things, from financial decisions to lifestyles growing up before we met each other. Like it's a lot of good content in that book, guys. I recommend that to everybody. Oh, so I know we asked you guys to send in some scriptures about that we could put towards the topic. Of course, some of the those common ones we all know. The book of Genesis, it says that God said it's not good that man should be alone. He will create them a helpmeet. Of course, we know when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Couple scriptures that came to me. The first one was Proverbs 3:6. It says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." I know we hear that scripture a lot, but we don't really talk about it in terms of relationships. I want you guys to know it says, "In all things acknowledge him." So always go to God about everything, and he will guide you. So you trust him with your dating process as well, you guys. And for Proverbs 4:23, it says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." You guys, all the decisions we make in our lives affect us in some shape, form, or manner. And I can speak. I've been through some heartbreak that I could say probably, I think changed who I was. So it's important that you guys pay attention and be careful with the things and the people that we choose to let in our lives, because they all play some shape or form or fashion and will affect you in some way.
I think the topic of dating is just so difficult, for Christians as well, just because I remember we had this discussion even while we was trying to come up with like this guideline, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's really not a lot of places in the Bible where it talks about this is what you should do exactly while dating. Mm-hmm. It's always in the context of marriage yes. all the time. So it's really difficult. You got to pay attention to who you are actually coming into contact with, about advice, where you taking your advice from, and then just having asking God for that discernment, that level of all right, gonna really trust in you in this process.
The scripture that we looked up, that we found, it's like about marriage. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. That's the new international version of it. But, the King James version, let no man put us asunder or something. So that's Matthew, the 19th chapter, the 6th verse.
All right, so to wrap up, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's looking for a mate, what would it be?
Know your worth.
There it is. I like that.
Have communication and trust.
I think honestly, just have fun. Try to not have it be so much pressure on all these outside influences and stuff. Just really go into it with an open mind. Enjoy experiences, because you are gonna experience things. Just take it as they come.
I would say walk into it healthy, your best self. Work on you before you're ready to just experience with another person. So
Same thing. It's about you. So before you get into that, work on you, who you are, love who you are, and shine.
Right, exactly. Just to piggyback off of them, first and foremost, you do have to love yourself first. You have to know what you got to know what makes you happy. Okay, you have to do things that make you happy. So, because if you don't know what makes you happy, how you expect somebody else to make you happy? Exactly. So yeah.
You make me
what everybody said. Know your worth. Know what makes you happy. Brandon said have fun. Know what you're doing it for. Always make a plan of, what you want, what you don't want, what you're looking for. And, be yourself.
That was good. Be yourself. Be intentional, and most importantly, be patient. Anything worth having is worth waiting for.
Yes.
My go-to, I tell people on Facebook all the time, just communicate. It's nothing that can't be solved without communication. Tell people what you like, what you don't like, and what's going on.
I guess first and foremost, love yourself. Love yourself, because it's hard to love others when you don't love yourself. Right. And when you love yourself, you take care of yourself. So to not know how to take care of yourself, before you can try to take care of somebody else as well. And most importantly, I think for me would be to fix yourself. I think that's very important as well. Never go into a situation where you feel like you're not whole, because we're looking for somebody that could complete us in a sense. We're supposed to work as one. We should be moving as one unit.
One flesh.
But we can't do that if both of us don't come to the table right. So just make sure you coming to the table right. And of course, like I said, always lean on God for everything, and that's including dating as well. All right, man, but that's all I got for you guys. So again, I want to thank you guys for another great episode, a great topic. Hope somebody is blessed and somebody learned something from our discussion here. Continue to just, invite others, continue to come to this table. Feel free to express your heart's content, because, we're all here just to help each other grow, help each other build, and to help our peers build as well. So again, I want to thank you guys. And of course, we just talking.
If you or someone you know would like to take part in our next conversation, join us over at Sunrise Baptist Church, 1101 South Central Park in Chicago, Illinois. Members and guests are welcome. Thanks for watching.